Imagine walking onto a movie set where the air is electric with anticipation. A script that's pure gold, a story that could win Oscars, and one of the greatest actresses of all time ready to pour her heart into a role. But then, the ground shifts. A new star steps in, and suddenly, the story you thought you knew starts to vanish. What happens when a Hollywood legend gets pushed out of her own spotlight? That's the jaw-dropping tale we're unpacking today, and trust me, you're going to want to watch this until the very end for a twist that flips everything upside down. This is a story of ambition, betrayal, and why you never, ever underestimate a true icon. So grab your popcorn, settle in, and let's dive into this Hollywood drama. The story begins with a film called In the Gray. When it was first announced, it was the kind of project that made movie fans sit up and take notice. A slow-burning drama about a war journalist grappling with the trauma of the wars she'd covered. It was gritty, emotional, and deeply human. No car chases, no superheroes, just a raw, unflinching look at what it means to carry pain in silence. And leading the charge, none other than Meryl Streep, the queen of acting, the woman who can convey a lifetime of emotion with a single look. Meryl was set to play the journalist, a complex character haunted by decades of witnessing humanity's darkest moments. The script came from a Pulitzer-winning playwright. The director was a rising star, fresh off a critically acclaimed film at Cannes, and the buzz was unreal. This was the kind of movie that could remind the world why we love cinema, and Meryl was the perfect person to bring it to life. The original script was a thing of beauty. It followed this journalist, a woman who'd spent her life reporting from war zones, carrying the weight of what she'd seen. The story wasn't about action or big flashy moments. It was about her unraveling, piece by piece as she tried to make sense of her past. There were quiet scenes of her sitting alone, staring at old photographs, her face telling a story words couldn't. There were monologues that cut deep, moments where her pain was so real you could feel it through the page. It was the kind of role that demanded an actress with depth, nuance, and fearlessness. And let's be honest, nobody does that better than Meryl Streep. Fans were already calling it her next Oscar-worthy performance, and the industry was buzzing with excitement. But then, something changed. Blake Lively entered the picture. At first, it didn't seem like a big deal. Blake, known for her charm, her red carpet style, and her Gossip Girl fame, was cast in a small but meaningful role. Her character was supposed to cross paths with Meryl's, offering a brief but poignant moment in the story. It was a supporting part, maybe 15 minutes of screen time, nothing that would overshadow the main narrative. Blake's casting made sense. She brought a modern, youthful energy to the project, and her star power could help draw a younger audience. The combination of Meryl's gravitas and Blake's charisma felt like a winning formula. Fans were thrilled. The hype was growing, and In the Gray looked like it was on track to be a masterpiece. But behind the scenes, things were starting to shift. Not long after filming began, Blake's role got a major upgrade. She wasn't just an actress anymore. She was suddenly listed as an executive producer. That's right, Blake Lively, the supporting actress, now had a say in the creative direction of the film, and with that power came changes. Big, bold, undeniable changes. It started subtly. A few scenes were tweaked, a few lines were rewritten, to give Blake's character a bit more depth. But those small edits snowballed into something much bigger. Blake's character, who was originally a minor figure, started appearing in more scenes. Her backstory was expanded, giving her a richer emotional arc. Her wardrobe went from practical to glamorous, with carefully curated outfits that screamed, "Leading lady." The camera started lingering on her, catching every tear, every smile, every perfectly lit moment. Meanwhile, Meryl's character was shrinking. Scenes that were written to showcase her raw, emotional power were quietly cut or rewritten. A monologue that was supposed to be the emotional core of the film. A moment where Meryl's character laid bare her pain, gone. Other key scenes, ones that showed her character's unraveling, were trimmed or softened. Even the film's ending, which was meant to be a devastating, quiet moment of truth for Meryl's character, was completely overhauled. In the new version, Blake's character took center stage, delivering a hopeful, empowering speech as she walked toward a glowing horizon, soft music swelling in the background. It was cinematic, it was beautiful, but it was a far cry from the dark, introspective story Meryl had signed on for. Whispers started spreading on set. Crew members noticed the shift in tone. The director, who'd once been passionate about Meryl's vision, was now taking notes from Blake's team. Writers who'd crafted the original script were sidelined, their input ignored. The vibe on set changed. What was supposed to be a deep, character-driven drama started feeling like a polished, feel-good movie designed to showcase Blake's star power. It was as if the entire project was being reshaped to fit her image. Her brand of hope, resilience, and Instagram-ready empowerment. And Meryl? She didn't throw a tantrum or walk off in a huff. That's not her style. But those close to her said she was devastated. The movie she'd poured her heart into, the role she'd fallen in love with, was slipping away. The changes weren't just about the script. Blake's influence extended to every corner of the production. Her team pushed for a glossier aesthetic, with brighter lighting and more cinematic flourishes. The marketing materials started to shift too. Early posters had featured Meryl front and center, her face etched with pain and resolve. But as Blake's role grew, so did her presence in the promotional campaign. New posters put her in the foreground, her name above Meryl's in the credits. Trailers leaned heavily on her scenes, teasing her character's inspiring journey, while barely showing Meryl's. It was clear that Blake wasn't just playing a bigger role, she was taking over the entire narrative. Meryl, ever the professional, kept working. She showed up, hit her marks, and delivered the kind of performance that only she can. But as the rewrites piled up, it became harder to ignore the truth. This wasn't the movie she'd signed up for. The story she'd wanted to tell, a raw, unflinching look at trauma and survival, was being sanded down into something safer, something more marketable. The emotional depth was being replaced with crowd-pleasing moments designed to make audiences feel good. For someone like Meryl, who's built her career on telling truthful, challenging stories, this was a betrayal of everything she stood for. Eventually, Meryl made a decision. She walked away. No big announcement, no messy headlines, just a quiet exit from a project that no longer had room for her. She was replaced by another actress, someone with less experience, someone who wouldn't question the rewrites or push back against Blake's growing influence. It was a heartbreaking moment for fans who'd been following the project, but for Meryl, it was the only choice. She wasn't going to fight for a story that wasn't hers anymore. She wasn't going to compromise her integrity for a film that had lost its soul. By the time In the Grey premiered, it was unrecognizable from the original vision. Blake Lively was everywhere, on the posters, in the trailers, on every red carpet. Interviews focused on her creative process and how personal the story felt to her. She leaned hard into the narrative of hope and healing, presenting herself as the emotional heart of the film. Meryl's name was barely mentioned. The movie got some attention, mostly from Blake's loyal fan base, but it didn't land the way it was supposed to. Critics called it shallow, too polished, like it was trying to be profound, but didn't know how. They praised Blake's ambition, but noted that something was missing: the emotional weight, the raw truth that Meryl's performance would have brought. Fans who'd followed the project from the beginning couldn't shake the feeling that they'd been cheated out of something extraordinary. But the drama didn't stop with the movie. While Blake was reshaping In the Grey, she was also making moves off-screen that would raise eyebrows across the industry. In the middle of the chaos surrounding the film, Blake's team pulled off a deal that left everyone stunned. She was announced as the new face of Chanel. Yes, Chanel, the French fashion house that's synonymous with elegance, sophistication, and timeless style. It was a massive moment for Blake, but the timing felt off. For months, fashion insiders had been buzzing about Chanel's next big campaign. Rumor had it they were looking for someone legendary, someone with depth and grace. And who was quietly in the running? Meryl Streep. Meryl had never been one to chase brand deals, but her natural style and universal respect made her a perfect fit for Chanel. Conversations were happening behind closed doors, mood boards were being drawn up, and a campaign centered on elegance. And emotional strength was reportedly being built around her. It wasn't official, but the signs were there. Then, seemingly out of nowhere, Blake swooped in. Overnight, she was everywhere. Giant Chanel posters, red carpet couture, exclusive spreads in Vogue and Elle, and a high-fashion short film showing her gliding through European streets in head-to-toe Chanel. The campaign's theme? Strength, resilience, and femininity in the face of adversity. If that sounds familiar, it's because it was almost identical to the messaging Blake was pushing. In the Gray, the parallels were uncanny. The original vibe of In the Gray, the one meant to spotlight Meryl's character and her quiet, devastating journey, had been polished up, wrapped in sequins, and sold to Chanel with Blake's name on it. It was like Blake had taken the emotional core of the film, repackaged it as a fashion campaign, and claimed it as her own. For Meryl, who'd always carried herself with effortless grace, this wasn't just a missed opportunity. It was a personal blow. Chanel, a brand that stood for elegance with substance, had chosen someone flashier, younger, and louder about her vision. It was a stark reminder of how Hollywood sometimes prioritizes marketability over authenticity. Behind the scenes, Meryl stayed composed as she always does, but those close to her couldn't ignore the timing. The Chanel campaign dropped just as Blake was taking full control of In the Gray, rewriting her character to embody the same themes of redemption and resilience that Chanel was now selling. Blake wasn't just reworking a movie, she was rebranding herself as Hollywood's new leading lady, complete with a fashion crown. Red carpets became less about the film and more about her Chanel dresses. Interviews focused on her creative journey and her vision, with barely a mention of the story's original intent. Chanel was all in, and Blake's PR team was working overtime to make sure everyone knew it. It was a masterstroke of branding, but for Meryl, it was one more sign that she was being erased from the project she'd helped build. If Blake was expecting Meryl to fight back with messy interviews or social media shade, she clearly didn't understand who she was dealing with. Meryl Streep doesn't play in the mud. She doesn't need to. While others chase headlines and hype, Meryl builds legacies with silence, patience, and precision. So, instead of engaging in a public feud, she did something far more powerful. She waited. A few weeks after stepping away from In the Gray, Meryl appeared at a Directors Guild panel. The room was packed with industry heavyweights, directors, producers, screenwriters, all waiting to hear from one of the greatest artists of our time. She didn't mention Blake or the movie by name. She didn't need to. Instead, she looked out at the audience, smiled softly, and delivered a single line that stopped everyone in their tracks. When influence trumps instinct, we lose the story. That line was a dagger, cloaked in velvet. It was quiet, it was classy, and it was devastating. The room erupted in applause, and within hours, clips of the moment were trending online. Fans and filmmakers knew exactly what she meant. The rewrites, the power plays, the shift from a raw, truthful story to a polished, crowd-pleasing one. It was all there in one perfect sentence. Meryl didn't need to call anyone out. She didn't need to spill tea or throw shade. She just spoke the truth. And the truth was enough. That moment became a rallying cry for anyone who'd followed the In the Gray drama, a reminder that real artistry can't be rewritten or erased. But Meryl wasn't done. Months later, she was honored at the New York Public Cinema Honors Gala, a major event celebrating storytelling in its purest form. Coincidentally, or maybe not, Blake Lively was scheduled to present an award that night. It was supposed to be a big moment for Blake, a chance to share the stage with Meryl and bask in the industry's glow. But hours before the event, Blake pulled out. No official reason was given. No replacement was announced. Just an empty slot in the program. The rumor mill went into overdrive, with fans speculating that Blake didn't want to face Meryl after everything that had happened. Whatever the reason, it left the stage wide open for Meryl to deliver one of the most powerful speeches of her career. Her voice was calm, but carried a quiet strength as she spoke about integrity, about what it means to tell stories that matter, without bending the truth to fit someone's public image. She talked about the responsibility of artists to honor the stories they're given, to stay true to the heart of the work. It wasn't just a speech, it was a masterclass in grace and conviction. Some called it shade, others called it Meryl, being Meryl. Either way, it was clear she wasn't going to let this moment pass without reminding everyone what real storytelling is about. The audience was on its feet, and the speech became one of those rare moments that transcends the event itself, circulating online and inspiring countless think pieces about art, power, and legacy. While the gossip blogs were busy dissecting her words, Meryl was already moving on to something bigger. Whispers started spreading about a new project, something intimate, powerful, and deeply personal. Details were scarce at first, but sources close to Meryl's team revealed that the script bore a striking resemblance to the original version of In the Gray, the one she'd signed on for before it was rewritten into a shiny, feel-good arc. This time, Meryl was in control. No co-stars pushing their brand, no executives meddling in the story, no stylists turning a gritty drama into a fashion shoot. Just Meryl, a small, trusted creative team, and a story that deserved to be told the way it was meant to be. It was the kind of move that reminded everyone why she's a legend. She didn't need to scream or throw shade. She just made sure her next step was so powerful, so undeniable, that it spoke for itself. And then came the moment that changed everything. A leak. Not a rumor, not a blurry screenshot, but a smoking gun that blew the lid off the In the Gray drama. An internal recording from a Netflix meeting where top executives and Blake's team discussed the creative changes to the film somehow made its way online. The audio was never meant to an official, but when it hit the internet, it sent shockwaves through Hollywood. In the recording, Blake's team is heard laying out their plan to restructure the film. They talk about cutting Meryl's emotionally intense scenes, the ones that anchored the story's psychological depth, and replacing them with marketable moments for Blake's character. They wanted feel-good scenes, award-friendly close-ups, and a narrative that would appeal to a wider audience. They even discussed how to position Blake as the emotional heart of the film, with an eye toward Oscar buzz and global appeal. The most damning part? The way they casually dismissed Meryl's scenes as too heavy or not relatable enough. They wanted a story that would make audiences feel inspired, not challenged. They wanted Blake to shine, even if it meant sidelining one of the greatest actresses of all time. The recording laid bare the truth. This wasn't a collaboration or a creative difference. It was a calculated power move. Blake's team wasn't just tweaking the script. They were reshaping the entire film to serve her image, turning a raw, truthful story into a vehicle for her brand. And the studio? They were fully on board, prioritizing profit and prestige over artistry. The public was stunned. Fans of Meryl, who'd already been upset about her exit, were furious. Social media exploded with posts calling out the manipulative edits and Blake's takeover. Hashtags like "Tying Justice for Meryl" and "Saving the Gray" trended for days. Fans shared side-by-side comparisons of the original script and the final film, highlighting how Meryl's powerful scenes had been replaced with polished, crowd-pleasing moments. For Blake, memes flooded the internet, with captions like "Blake Lively rewriting Meryl Streep's legacy" and "When you try to outshine a legend." Fan-made videos broke down the leaked audio, piecing together moments from the original screenplay that were no longer in the final cut. The backlash was relentless, and it wasn't just fans. Critics, filmmakers, and even some industry insiders joined the conversation, accusing Blake of erasing a legend's legacy. The fallout was immediate and massive. Critics who'd once praised In the Grey as a potential masterpiece for Meryl started turning on the film. Reviews called it hollow and a missed opportunity, with many pointing out that Blake's ambition couldn't make up for the loss of Meryl's depth. Industry publications ran think pieces about the dangers of prioritizing marketability over art, with headlines like How Hollywood Betrayed Meryl Streep and The Cost of Rewriting a Legend. Former collaborators of Meryl came forward, expressing their dismay at how the film had shifted. One veteran producer, who'd worked with Meryl on multiple projects, called it a travesty and a reminder of everything that's wrong with the industry. The narrative wasn't about the film anymore. It was about who controlled the story and why. Blake's team tried to do damage control. A carefully worded statement went out, claiming the changes were in the best interest of the film's success, and that Blake had deep respect for Meryl. But it fell flat. The more they tried to spin the narrative, the clearer it became. This wasn't a misunderstanding or a creative compromise. It was a takeover. The leaked audio shattered the illusion that In the Grey had been a partnership. What was once seen as a bold move by Blake was now being called a calculated attempt to overshadow one of Hollywood's greatest icons. The public saw through the PR moves, and Blake's reputation took a serious hit. Fans who'd admired her for her charm and style couldn't reconcile that with the raw, vulnerable performance they'd expected from Meryl. The Chanel campaign, once a crowning achievement, now felt like part of the same calculated rebrand. The studio didn't escape the backlash either. Fans and critics called out Netflix for supporting Blake's changes, accusing them of prioritizing profit over integrity. Posts on social media demanded accountability, with some even calling for a boycott of the film. The controversy sparked broader conversations about power dynamics in Hollywood, particularly how powerful women like Meryl are sometimes sidelined in favor of younger, more marketable figures. It wasn't just about In the Grey anymore. It was about the industry's troubling habit of valuing image over substance, flash over depth. The leak didn't just expose Blake's power play, it exposed the machinery of Hollywood itself. In the middle of all this chaos, Meryl stayed above it. She didn't need to jump into the fray or fuel the drama. Her work, her legacy, spoke for her. While Blake's reputation faltered, Meryl's star only shone brighter. She continued to embody grace and elegance, never mentioning Blake by name, never engaging in the gossip. Instead, she let her next project do the talking. That new script, the one that echoed the original In the Grey, was her way of reclaiming the story. It was a reminder that authentic storytelling will always outlast flashy PR campaigns. Meryl didn't need billboards or tearful interviews to prove her worth. She just needed her craft, and her craft was enough. What makes this story so compelling isn't just the drama or the power plays. It's what it says about Hollywood and the choices we make in the pursuit of greatness. Blake Lively saw an opportunity to build her brand, to step into the spotlight as a serious actress and a fashion icon. And for a moment it worked. She got the posters, the Chanel deal, the headlines. She was the face of In the Grey, the star of every interview, the name on everyone's lips. But in chasing that spotlight, she lost something bigger. She lost the chance to be part of a story that could have been timeless, a story that could have stood alongside Meryl's greatest work. Instead, she turned it into something safe, something shiny, something that faded as quickly as it arrived. Meryl, on the other hand, didn't need to fight for the spotlight. She didn't need to rewrite scripts or chase brand deals. Her power comes from her work, her integrity, and her ability to tell stories that matter. When she stepped away from In the Grey, she didn't just walk away from a movie. She walked toward something greater. That new project, the one she's pouring her heart into, is proof that she's not going anywhere. It's a reminder that in a world obsessed with headlines and hype, true artistry always finds a way to shine. Meryl's quiet resistance, her refusal to play the game, showed the world that real power doesn't need a spotlight, it creates its own. This story is a cautionary tale about ambition and legacy, about what happens when influence tries to overpower instinct. Blake Lively wanted to be the face of In the Grey, and for a while, she was. She got the glory, the glamour, the moment in the sun. But Meryl Streep didn't need to be the face of anything. She's the heart, the soul, the reason we keep coming back to the movies. Her legacy isn't built on red carpets or fashion campaigns. It's built on stories that move us, challenge us, and stay with us long after the lights go up. In the end, Blake had the headlines, but Meryl had the legacy. So, what's the lesson? Here, Hollywood is a place where dreams are born, but it's also a place where dreams can be rewritten, reshaped, and sometimes lost. In the Grey could have been a masterpiece, a film that reminded us why we love cinema. Instead, it became a reminder of what happens when ego and branding take over. But through it all, Meryl Streep stood tall, proving that no amount of rewrites or PR moves can dim a true legend's light. Her next move is coming, and if history's any guide, it's going to be unforgettable. Stick around, because this story is far from over, and Meryl's next chapter is going to be worth the wait. If you were gripped by this Hollywood saga, hit that like button and share this video with your friends. Don't forget to subscribe and ring the bell so you never miss a story like this. What do you think about the In the Grey drama? Did Blake cross a line, or was she just playing the game? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'm dying to hear what you think. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.